Before we begin, I think there are important questions that need to be answered. If we go to Enfield's official YouTube channel and click the channel's description, it is written that Arknights Endfield is a real-time 3D RPG with strategic elements published by Griffline. With such a short summary, every word must have been carefully handpicked, including the word strategic. I've been invited to all of Enfield's beta tests, including the technical test. I have around 300+ hours combined between all tests. In each test, I reached the endgame and have maxed out the production of my base. I would also like to say that I'm an ESL, so forgive me if my vocabulary is lacking and if you find grammar mistakes. Arknights Endfield's gameplay is split into 3 major parts: exploration, automation, and combat. Exploration, as the word already implies, means you are to explore the world for resources and extra rewards. You will solve puzzles, fight enemies for chests, find hidden paths, and collect stuff for both extra rewards and achievements. Automation refers to the factory gameplay. Specifically, it is called Automated Industry Complex, or AIC. Through the AIC, you can build certain things to help you with the exploration and daily activities. For operators, you can use the AIC to craft healing items, stat-boosting items, and gears. AIC is not completely skippable, but for players who do not like to engage with this system, there are blueprints you can copy from other players. The combat is similar to other ARPGs in the gacha market. A team consists of 4 operators. An operator can perform a basic attack string, able to cast a skill, a combo skill, and an ultimate. Using a battle skill costs SP. SP is a universal resource and regenerates over time. There are other ways to regenerate SP, such as finishing your basic attack string for a final strike or utilizing Vanguard operators. Combo skills can be triggered when the conditions are met but cannot be spammed due to having a cooldown. Ultimates can be used if an operator's energy meter is maxed. Energy can be regenerated through various methods, such as using battle skill, combo skill, and items. The major difference between Enfield's combat when compared to other ARPGs like Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves is that all operators in the team are active in the field. There's no need to switch operators if you want to use another operator's battle skill, combo skill, or ultimate. In short, performing rotations or combos are simplified. Other than that, the only other use of teammates being active in the field is so they can use their equipped items. These equipped items are automatically used when conditions are met. Team setups can vary from spamming low cooldown combo skills, utilizing the high burst damage of elemental reactions, or having teams centered around spamming ultimates. There is an insane amount of polish when it comes to Enfield's user interface, visual effects, and sound effects. The majority of the game features are not lazily designed and each use different user interfaces. The visuals, whether it's combat or the scenery, are amazing. Videos don't do them justice. The game looks much more amazing once you play it yourself. The sound effects are not lazy either. For example, you could easily hear different sounds of footsteps depending on which operator you use and the type of ground they are stepping on. As for the music, it goes without saying that we will keep getting bangers. This is Hypergriff after all, the music company disguised as a gaming company. Last but not the least, the operators themselves. They are detailed, extremely well designed, and can perform a lot of complex motions. Enfield also runs in a modified Unity game engine, making it perform well in the majority of devices. I even heard that some old smartphones can run the game smoothly. While I personally think that Enfield is casual-friendly, I can't say that it totally respects your time, considering that finishing all dailies efficiently can still take up to an hour or even longer. Every day, you have to send gifts to your operators, do stock exchange, manage outposts, do deliveries, and spend your sanity. While it doesn't seem like a long list, stock exchange, managing outposts, and doing deliveries are done per region. Currently, there are 2 regions. Spending sanity can take time since resource stages have tanky enemies. There are also times you will need to gather special resources in the field required by operators to progress. Still, It is a single-player game, so I don't think there's a need to be extremely efficient on every single thing. As for the game's gacha, Kyo already made a video explaining all the details you need to know about it. Link in the pinned comment. If you really want my opinion on the gacha, I think the whole system is okay, but it really induces fear of missing out. Unlike other gachas, you would want to plan out your pulls in Enfield. I don't want to mention any spoilers, but personally, I find the story mid at best. Does it have the potential to improve? Definitely. And that covers the first half of my review. If you like what you've heard so far, I think you should give Enfield a shot and see if it is worth your time and investment. For the second half of my review, this is where I will be extremely critical of the game. In case anyone strawmans my arguments, I want to establish the fact that I do not want Enfield to copy mainstream ARPG gacha games. However, I need to mention them for easy references. In Enfield, every single thing you do leads to upgrading and improving your operators. Whether it's min-maxing AIC production, fully exploring areas, doing dailies, weeklies, and many other features. Therefore, the majority of the game's replayability relies on its combat. After all, the AIC barely has any depth and is a once-and-done feature. This is a problem. Why? Because Enfield's combat has no depth. There is close to zero skill expression when controlling the team. Most importantly, the advertised strategic elements seems to be missing. I frequently visit the Enfield subreddit to keep myself up to date on player opinions. I've seen people argue that the strategy part can be found in team building. The thing is, Enfield's team building isn't anything special. Even a hardcore ARPG like Wuthering Waves has team building, but you don't call it a strategic game. Some argue that the strategic part can be found in setting up combo skills. In Enfield it is called combo skills, but it's actually just a QTE or quick time event. One notable gacha game that has QTEs is Honkai Impact 3rd, but nobody calls it a strategic game. It is still mainly an instance-based ARPG. So where is this strategic element of Enfield that the game advertises? Nowhere. In fact, having a universal key for combo skills and having it immediately give a call to action whenever available just shows how dumbed down the combat system is. Basically, when you see this call to action, it means you can perform combo skills by pressing E. Yes, it is that simple. In Wuthering Waves, you need to take time in perfecting your rotations. More so if you are to perform quick swaps for max efficiency. In Enfield, there's no such thing. Even a game that focuses on exploration like Genshin Impact has deeper combat mechanics with animation cancels, maximizing the internal cooldowns on element applications and stamina management with heavy attacks. Spamming combo skills in Enfield can be fun at first, but it gets boring real quick. It will always be Final Strike into EEEE or Battle Skill into EEEE, squeeze ultimates here and there. Trust me, you might even find it funny how accurate this is once you try the game yourself. Your teammates being active in the field doesn't really add anything to the combat's depth either. All they do is spam basic attacks that barely deal any damage and use items from time to time. In fact, having them in the field just lets them take damage and sometimes die pointlessly. You would even wonder why defenders exist when the majority of enemy aggro would always be applied to the operator you control anyways. You can create the tankiest defender of all time, but their defensive stats become pointless if you don't control them. The game feels slow and clunky since the majority of the time, you will be spamming basic attacks only while waiting for your SP to regenerate and combo skills to cool down. Only in specific team setups or specific stages you'll find a better combat flow. For example, an electric team that consists of Perlika, Aviwena, and Arklight has no issue performing continuous attacks, mostly thanks to Arklight having very low cooldown on her combo skill and being a vanguard that provides valuable SP, allowing you to use battle skills more frequently. More battle skills also leads to more ultimate spam. Of course, not everyone wants to play an electric team or force someone like Arklight in their teams. So if your hand-picked operators unfortunately do not have a vanguard or low cooldown combo skills, tough luck. Mono-element teams are also heavily favored, as they are some of the strongest team setups in the final beta. While this isn't particularly a bad thing, I personally don't like it when the best team setups are predetermined since it limits player creativity. Vanguards are also almost mandatory due to how strong this class is. Even if you do try to be creative with your team setup, There are many things to consider, such as combo skill cooldowns, elemental reactions, tree passives, and class roles that could make or break the team synergy. For example, the combo skill cooldown of your chosen operators might not align with each other, which causes inconsistencies on your rotations. Some combo skills can only activate if there's no elemental debuff on the enemy. Some operators require certain debuffs applied on enemies to gain some bonus effect on their skill. There might be no good Vanguard that could synergize with the team. I'm fairly sure that some would argue that the game is still in its early phase and it has the potential to become a lot better. The thing is, if you look at Arknights in its early state, we could already see a lot of potential when it comes to its strategic features, despite the lack of endgame content. Just looking at the push and pull specialists alone, you can already see a ton of strategic potential. Operators with powerful skills that have high initial SP on deployment could be abused for heli-drop strategies. The combination of crowd controls can be used for stall strategies. In Endfield, Aviwenna is basically the only operator with interactive mechanics where you need to give her good positioning to maximize the damage of her spears. Outside of that, other operators have close to zero mechanics. The whole combat being boring, slow, clunky, and non-strategic isn't the end of it. When we talk about combat, we also have to talk about enemies. If you played old-school tab targeting MMORPGs, you'll know that one of the most annoying enemies are the ranged enemies. After all, with a tab targeting system, you simply lock onto an enemy and use whatever attack you want to use and it will automatically hit. The same goes for the enemy. Once they lock onto you, they are guaranteed to hit you unless you perfectly dodge it or counter it through some mechanic. This system where ranged enemies have aimbot got carried over from the technical test into both beta tests. What does that mean? It means that the ranged enemies in Endfield have a built-in aimbot. If you ask beta players which content they find the most challenging, a lot would answer fighting the 3 worms. Basically, they are referring to a tanky ranged enemy that deals a ton of damage. Now, imagine fighting 3 of them at the same time with their aimbot. The whole aimbot thing makes ranged enemies the real threat, while fighting melee enemies seems to be some sort of a joke. Speaking of annoying, the devs somehow thought that adding a timer on resource stages is a good idea. Yes, resource stages, the stages where you consume daily stamina to upgrade your operators. And it doesn't stop there. The devs somehow thought that it is a good idea to add enemies that keep blocking your attacks into those timed resource stages. I'm talking about enemies that basically do the same thing as the shield wall Mitocurls in Genshin Impact. They are just there to annoy you and stall you as much as possible. Some would argue that Endfield doesn't need to be a fast-paced ARPG like Wuthering Waves, and that is true. However, Endfield has no feature that could justify the slow-paced combat at all. All we have is a dumbed-down, slow, and clunky combat system. I'm gonna be completely honest, the lack of good B-rolls for this video is due to the fact that I'm so demotivated to continue playing the second beta test to record more footage. I even stopped answering their feedback forms since I feel like my feedback is never heard anyways. I couldn't even test all operators in this final beta because of how they changed the stamina refill where it gets more and more expensive as you refill. Basically, it became similar to how stamina refills in Hoyoverse games work. Anyways, let me do a quick summary. Combat is dumbed down. There is close to zero skill expression. The advertised strategic elements are missing. Teammates being active in the field serves almost no purpose and sometimes detrimental. In most team setups, combat is slow and monotonous. Meta teams are predetermined. Vanguards are so strong that they are almost mandatory. Defenders are pointlessly tanky unless you always control them. Mono-element teams have a clear advantage. Non-meta team setups are significantly harder to compose. There's a vast difference between the difficulty of fighting melee and ranged enemies. Somehow, resource stages have DPS checks. Annoying enemies such as shielders are added to stages with DPS checks. All in all, Endfield looks like a game that is totally confused on what kind of game it wants to be. This is very apparent with how the gameplay drastically changed from the technical test into the beta test gameplay. I could be Enfield's most hated YouTuber for all I care. I just hope that there are more people who actually tried to criticize the game instead of just blindly glazing it. I do hope that HG proves me wrong because it's not like I hate HG and the Arknights IP. It is quite the opposite. I genuinely want Endfield to succeed. I will still play the game on release and cover it as I promised long ago. I'll just hope that the game significantly improves before it is too late. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one.